minus 60 seconds. T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the 5 Foot Viking podcast, where we get to drink a beer and learn something new. As usual, we're here on a Tuesday night, and I have one of my really good friends. I'm just so blessed that he was able to come over, and I'm blessed that I'm still in Huntington Beach. So, ladies and gentlemen at home, please put your hands together for Mr. Kevin Knight.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Everybody at home, if you don't know, now you know. This is Kevin Knight. If you've heard that name before, or if it sounds familiar, it's because his brother is my neighbor, and he's been on the podcast as well.
Nepotism works.
Yeah. But Kevin is Kevin. We go back a long ways, long ways. And you play bass in Damage Inc. You work in corporate America. You've been brewing beers, and you're just a fun guy to be around. So, I
think I have a couple of shirtless pictures of us in a
let's.
That we could
I'm
share.
so glad we're not going to go there.
I brought them with me.
Yeah, that's the shirtless selfie. We retired that one a while back, but ladies and gentlemen at home, I just want to let you guys know tonight is most likely going to be the last night that I do the podcast from Huntington Beach. So, Kevin, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me. I'm pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So also, ladies and gentlemen at home, if you can, if you're watching live, can you please comment? Let me know that everything is sounding good, that you can hear everything. I want to make sure it's been we got a couple people commenting on already. We got
Brett, you are not incorrect.
We got Tony, 2 badass bass players right there. Yes, indeed. Yes, sir. Mr. Edgar Namrock from the Ed Namrock podcast jumping in once again with the horns.
Closer to the mic. Is that better?
Yes,
that better?
Much better. Actually, if you want to bring that down just a little bit, that's perfect too.
I'm shorter than my brother too. But
that's perfect.
How's that? Is that better?
Brett, my good neighbor upstairs. Kevin is more handsome than Chris. That's good times. Oh, that's good. Jessica Knight, I'm assuming.
Yeah, that's my niece.
Oh, that's super cool.
Jessica.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate it. My beautiful wife in the other room. She's got the hand claps going.
She's still tuning in after all these episodes.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Thank you for the 3-hour debauchery on Saturday at the swap meet.
Yeah, that was fun.
We'll get into that. I have a lot of friends that were able to make it, and they said it was amazing.
Yeah, it was epic.
And Edgar, get closer to the mic. Okay, we got some people. Oh, I love this. We got a lot of people jumping in.
Yeah.
Rich, what's up, brother?
What's up,
Bass Brothers, yes, indeed.
Oh yeah, Jerry's here too.
And Jerry. Got the horns up.
Oh yeah.
Much love. Thanks for being here. Lisa Camacho, love you. Thank you for being here. I love it. All the horns coming up. This is good times. Kim.
All the Fords are here?
Yep. The Fords are here. I love it. This is great. Well,
and now I'm nervous. I thought nobody was who wants to hear about homebrewing?
I'll tell you what, and this is going to be a fun part. We've got a lot of stuff that we could talk about.
Sure.
And you are definitely talented in so many different ways. But I wanted to have you on, especially for home brewing, because this podcast is all about, the whole thing. We're drinking a beer. We're learning something new.
Sure.
So now we're drinking a beer and we get to learn about making the beer. So, but before we jump into everything, I just wanted to let everybody know, once again, at the beginning, at the bottom of the screen, there's a scrolling thing. You can always visit the 5footviking.com. It's a landing page where you can see the Instagram and the Twitter and the YouTube and the Facebook and all the good stuff that is 5 Foot Viking. I'm actually going to be revamping the website soon. I'll be having the merchandise being able to be sold on there as well. Speaking of merchandise, I'm sporting the hoodie, the 5 Foot Viking hoodie. We have a 5 Foot Viking bottle opener, fridge magnet bottle opener for everybody who loves to open up their beers in the fridge. And we've got some t-shirts too coming and a few more things. And so, yeah, you can visit that. And also in the description above and below, there are some links to some different items, gear that I use, things like that. And we'll get to some of the other links in a little bit. So, first and foremost, let's jump into we need to know a little bit more about Kevin. I know Kevin. Okay. We go way back. Like we said, we got some shirtless selfies that are out there in the interwebs somewhere. But for all the viewers we
never did the bobsled. I'm
so glad. I mean, we were close to it.
Yeah, you were going to say bummed, right?
I'm bummed that we didn't do it. No, okay. We got to tell the story now with the shirtless selfie. I even brought
the goggles and everything.
Okay. So in a nutshell, we were getting drunk at Fantasy Springs Casino. And for some reason, we started talking about working out.
Workout routines. And then the shirts came off. And then there was a picture.
And a tradition was born. That was really weird. But let's jump into. So the first thing that I want to do is the first segment is called Backstage with Kevin. So, I know a lot about this, but for the people that are watching and just meeting you for the first time, walk us through a little bit of your upbringing, schooling, family. I know you were a Marine, college,
Yeah. I mean, my upbringing is pretty straightforward. Great parents, grew up in Garden Grove with my brother, who, now lives next door to you. My sister got, 2 nieces and a nephew, great family. Everything's good. Grew up mainly here in Garden Grove. Went to Pacifica High School. Got done with that, and I was going to junior college and not, hadn't quite figured out my direction, what I wanted to do. My brother and I were going to a ton of air shows, and so at the air shows, you see all the military aircraft flying. Yeah. I'm like, you know what? I want to be a pilot. So I went to the Air Force recruiter, and they were closed. And so next door was the Marines. And I walked in there, and the Marine recruiter, and I had talked to some other recruiters before, and they were like, yeah, you get college money, you get this stuff. And the Marine's like, you get to murder people in the face.
Oh my God.
Like, okay, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do.
This is the direction I'm going.
Actually, the thing that told me I joined the right branch is when we went for the test, there was a couple of prospective recruits that were going with me and our sergeant at the time. And there was an Army recruiter, and he had this blue cord and a red cord on his uniform and all these brass and ribbons and things. One of the guys with me goes, hey, what's that blue ribbon and the red ribbon for? And the Marine sergeant with me goes, oh, that's so you can figure out left from right. Like, okay, this is the right thing. So
you're like, oh, this is my humor.
Yeah. Oh, they're a bunch of sarcastic jerks. Like, yeah, I'm right in there.
You fit right in.
Yeah. So I joined the Marines. I was 19 when I joined the Marines. And the best part about the Marines is actually it's when I got into metal and I got into music. Because during boot camp, I saw an inspirational video with the Marines landing, and they were playing AC/DC's Hell's Bells. And I wasn't really into rock at the time. And I heard that. I'm like, oh, what is this? And somebody's like, AC/DC. So I got AC/DC CD. I got the Metallica CD. And all of a sudden I was hooked on metal. Right. And then fast forward a little bit, I go to El Paso, Texas for training. I go to Okinawa, Japan, and I'm actually in Korea. And guy comes back from out of town with an acoustic guitar, found out about the music shop. So we ran out to the music shop, me and my buddy, Jason, and we went and got, I got a bass, he got a guitar. And so learned by the time I went to Okinawa for a year, I came back, all of a sudden I could play guitar or play bass. And so my brother and I ended up forming the band, right, which started that whole thing.
So you learned a lot of different things in the Marines.
Oh, well, the Marine. So for me, the Marines, what I did in the Marines is I was a 7212, which is a Stinger Avenger gunner. So I was a shoulder fired or turret fired anti-aircraft missile operator. Not at all what I wanted to be. right? I thought I was going to be air traffic control or avionics. Like I did really well on the tests. So I thought I was going to have a really cool, technical, smart job. And it's like, here's your missile. Like, but the things I got out of it were more like maturity. Well, semi-maturity. You should have seen me before.
No, I'm so glad I didn't.
I'm glad nobody did. And sorry, mom and dad. I apologize ahead of time. But no, so I learned that self-discipline and just kind of how to stick with things and, deal with adversity.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got out of the Marines, I got my Montgomery GI Bill. I started going to school on, and got
Did you have something specific that you wanted to go to school for?
I wanted a technical degree. That's all I knew. Is because I wanted a technical job in the Marines so I could get a good job when I got out. I didn't get that from the Marines. So I wanted a technical degree so I could get a good job when I got out of the Marines or got out of college. So I didn't want to go get a literature degree unless I wanted to be a teacher or something. I wanted to make sure that the job fit.
Have you always been this, just your conversation right now is extremely structured.
You know what? No, this is the Marines.
Yeah.
This was the Marines for me because it kind of helped me come up with not only how you plan, but how you do contingency plans. How you have a path, but you also plan for it to deviate.
You plan for it not to go to plan.
Right. You plan for it not to go to plan.
Exactly,
and that was something I learned in the Marines, right? Is that you always kind of, you know where you want to go in general, you set yourself in the right direction, but you put some flexibility in there to adjust.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I was either going to do engineering or computer science. And my dad, we were at an Angel game one day and he's like, you know what? You're not an engineer. He's like, engineers love math and live math. Like you don't live math. Like you like it. You're good at it.
Okay.
But you're not like everything with engineers is math. So he's like, at least a computer science degree, if you go into business and you still have the computer science background. And so I got that. And then I graduated in like 2007 and started working for my drummer at the time, Boyd.
Oh,
yeah. I started working for Boyd. He was a CTO for a software development company in Newport Beach. So I got my first job with him and then worked for a couple different companies. And now I work for Taco Bell in Irvine. Yeah. So I do
for corporate.
I work for the corporate. Yeah.
Come on.
What's funny is when I told my mom,
bro?
when I told my mom I work for Taco Bell, she's like, is it that bad? Like we could just lend you some money. Like
we got a loan for you. Do you need to come live with us?
Yeah, I do. So I do like restaurant technologies for the corporate. We support 7,000 restaurants across the country. Right. And so what we do is we put all the new technology into the restaurants and upgrade all their stuff and keep them current. So I've been doing that for almost 10 years now.
I remember not too long ago, maybe just a few years, you guys were implementing the new
payment systems.
The new payment systems. Yeah. And I remember we had to meet up for some reason. I can't remember what we were doing, but we had to meet up during the day. You're like, I'm going to be at this one, and then I'm going to this one. Yeah. You had to drive to like multiple.
Yeah, I was supporting a bunch of installations at the time because we didn't know how to do it. So we go to different locations to learn everything. So I did payment systems. I'm doing kitchen systems. Now I'm doing like point of sale systems and all sorts of different like really cool. Like everything technology in the restaurant is something that I've kind of had a hand in or will in the next couple of years.
So and your job is basically you're in an office at a desk. You have a team.
I'm
in
a garage at a desk.
For the last year you've been in a garage at a desk. But like, so I'm assuming that you have a team of people that you work with, and you guys all work together to figure out the logistics of the electronics and the.
So I'm a solutions architect. So what I do is I've gotten to a point, I was a coder, I was a developer, and I've gotten to a point where I just understand the technical requirements of things, and I work with the various teams. Like if you have a vendor that's writing software for you, make sure they're delivering the right software. If you have a development team, make sure they're creating the right components. And then also, how does that integrate into the restaurant? How does it get supported, maintained, installed, our system operating? Yeah, so once it goes in there, like what happens when things break, who fixes it, how does it work?
I think that would definitely be Edgar's fault.
Dang it, Edgar.
Dang it, you, Edgar.
Hi, Debbie.
We're getting clipping. Are we clipping? Maybe I'm getting the. Because here's the thing. I've been. On a side note, I'm in finals week because
nice.
I'm in school right now. Oh, we are getting them popping.
Are you?
School.
Do we want to
robot voices?
Robot voices.
Damn it! Is it that bad?
Okay, hold on.
You know what? Maybe it's
This is how you know it's live.
2
Check,
2.
check.
All right. Is that better? Is it better? Is it better? It's getting there? Good. Okay, we're good.
Our output's a little hot. I think that's what's going on.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. So, for everybody that's at home and for everybody who is listening to this podcast as well, because this podcast is actually up on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts and Spotify and all that good stuff. So we get some people that listen to it after the fact. The people that are watching right now, you guys get a chance to see us right now, and this is live right now. So we're running everything live and boozing on a Tuesday. I love it.
Thanks, Roner.
Yeah, Roner. Love you, buddy.
Cheers.
Thanks for hanging out, Bo. Yeah, so here's the thing with me, guys. This week has been a little bit rough because it's finals week for me. Not only I'm at Arizona State University online, so everything is online, but at the same time we're moving right now, so everything is
just in flux.
Yeah, we're in a weird place. So, and I had to tear all my computer stuff down, reset it up. So sometimes it's not really sounding fantastic. So
keep an eye out there for us. If it makes that sound again, then let us know.
Please let us know. Appreciate you guys. Let's jump in. We got a few more people up here that jumped in. Where's
it's all about the sound there? Sound.
Here we go. Gotta throw this in there. My pops, dad up in Utah.
Hey.
Howdy. Oh, dad drinking his vitamin water once again. Dad will be the ripe age of 21 this Friday.
Nice. Happy birthday.
Plus a couple years, I think.
Happy birthday. We're drinking vitamin water too. It's got B vitamins from the yeast in it.
From B vitamins from the yeast. Vitamin water with a few extra additives. Let's see. We got a few people. Rafa is saying it's clipping. Okay. Audio sounds fuzzy. Ed. Hey, Edgar, if it gets like that again, please shoot me a text. I don't know what's going on. If it's the main stage or whatever, but all right. So hopefully it doesn't do that anymore.
It says better.
Yeah, better
So
voices,
better.
robot voices from Amy.
Hi, Amy.
Hi, Amy.
I know that lady.
And Rafa, it's getting better. Now it's getting better. Okay.
Ooh, better.
All right. Hopefully it's better.
Okay, sounds great.
Looks like it sounds good. All right. Well,
nice.
so back to the story at hand.
Oh yeah.
I love the side chatter here. Hi, Roner. This is good times.
So ultimately, got my degree, worked for Taco Bell. I've always wanted to have a steady job.
Yeah.
In addition to the band, right?
Okay.
For me, I mean, what you do as a musician, like 6-7 days a week, I respect that so much. Like you hustle, right? And you guys are so good.
Yeah, I'm trying not to.
I know, but that hustling is amazing. For me, I never wanted music to be my job because I never wanted to start resenting it. Right? I always wanted it to be my very serious hobby, the very serious thing that I do on the side.
Well,
but I never wanted it to be my main.
Amazing because you guys are incredible. So
thanks. Part of it is being together for 17 years. I mean, that helps a lot,
absolutely.
Right? Staying together with mostly the same guys. We've changed a couple. Our old guitar player Dave's my roommate, so like
but
we're
you're still good friends with everybody.
Everyone is still friends. Nobody's been fired or anything.
Yeah.
So funny story. So my brother and I used to drink a lot. I still do. He stopped, but congratulations to him.
Yeah, he's going on what, 3 years, 4 years?
Yeah, 3.5 almost.
That's awesome.
Yeah, cold turkey. That's amazing. So I'm so proud of him for that. I mean, that's incredible. But let's talk about beer. So we used to drink a lot of different craft beer, and I mean, craft beer really started kicking off. My first introduction to craft beer was like 1998 when I was in 98 or 99 when I came back to Camp Pendleton. I was in the Marines down to San Diego. Stone Brewing.
Right? Out of Escondido.
Right. Well, they were San Marcos at the time before they moved to Escondido. And so they had the Arrogant Bastard Ale. Yeah. And I was like, I'm an Arrogant Bastard.
I'm an Arrogant Bastard.
I'm in the Marines. I can drink some Arrogant Bastard, So all of a sudden you get this like introduction into this new beer world that's just incredible. Right. So I got into craft beer, looking for all the different beers that were out there. Because at the time it was what's not Budweiser, what's not, Miller Coors, that kind of stuff. And so fast forward a little bit, I started working at UCI while I was going through school. I was a data entry specialist, where, I was a code monkey.
Yeah.
Well, not even a code. Basically, you're just looking at this and putting it into Excel form.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's why you're so good at Excel, dude.
That's how I got my 3 levels of cleric.
That's the only way I passed that class was because you did like 90% of my homework.
I had to use a lot of Excel back then, right? So, but I was doing that, and there was the UCI had a pub on campus called the UCI pub, or the Anthill Pub.
Okay.
And they did a thing where they got rid of all of their macro beers. They got rid of Budweiser, Miller, Coors. The only one they still had, I think, was Corona, but everything else was gone. It was 28 taps of craft beer. And one day I'm sitting there drinking this craft beer. I ended up working at the pub part-time after I left UCI. I left UCI. I was working as an immigration prison guard in San Pedro. And,
oh, wow.
Yeah, it was something because when you're a prison guard, you just work a job and you don't have to take anything home. There's no deadlines. There's no meetings. There's nothing you have to prepare for. You just have to make sure everyone
show up, clock in, clock out.
Everyone's safe. Everyone's good, and you get out. Right. And so I did that for 5 years while I was going through school. But I also worked at the Anthill Pub. And one day I'm sitting there pouring beer, and I'm like, somebody made this. And go, how do you make this?
Uh-oh.
How do you make this thing? It's so delicious, but
Are you opening up that box right now?
So somebody created this, and how did that happen?
Yeah.
Right. And so I went out and I literally got homebrewing for dummies. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, I got homebrewing for dummies, and I'm like, I don't know anything about homebrewing, and it broke it down. And I went and found my first homebrew kit.
Yeah.
And I made 3 or 4, maybe 3 batches with a buddy of mine, this guy Steve. And they were okay.
Okay.
They were okay. We did our thing, and we'll get into the process and stuff in a bit. But
yeah.
Fast forward a couple of years, probably about 2008, 2009. I'm at a bar in Seal Beach called Beechwood Barbecue. That's not there anymore, but Beechwood Barbecue is still in Long Beach. Like, shout out to Beechwood.
I'm gonna tag you guys in this. Want some beer?
So Julian, who's the head brewer of Beechwood, was an avid home brewer at the time, and just happened to be the night I was there, he showed up, and he's like, "Hey, I brought some homebrew that I made," and I'm like, "Do you mind if I had some?" Absolutely delicious, right? Some of the best homebrew I've ever had. Right. I thought when I made homebrew, I'm like, okay, maybe you just can't make it at home. Like, it's not the same that you can have in a restaurant, right, or a bar. But Julian showed like, hey, this is really good. And there was a hop in there. It was like Simcoe hops. I'm like, never heard of them before. Told my brother about it, and he's like, well, let's go to Beechwood and see if they have anything with Simcoe. I want to try it. So we went back and asked them, hey, do you have anything with Simcoe hops? They had Russian River, I think, Pliny the Elder, or Blind Pig, one of those that made with the Simcoe hops. And we taste them. My brother fell in love with the hop.
What is a Simcoe hop?
Okay,
I know
we're getting into it.
And here's the thing is, I want to skim across the top, dive a little bit deep here and there.
We'll do that.
But
we'll do
if I ask a question that's going to take us
if
there,
I dive too deep, let me know, because I can get pretty deep.
Yeah, but if I ask a question that's going to dive deep, let me know. Like,
so simply, hops are a plant that you add to beer that have oils in them that cause the beer to be bitter.
Okay.
Right. Simcoe is a brand of hop. And so what they do is they have all these varieties. Like, it's like you got a bunch of flowers, but you have roses, you have tulips, you have, except it's all.
I have a really big question right now. So these are specifically made to make it taste bad?
No, they're made to make it taste good, but they're also there to add bitterness, because if you didn't have bitterness, it would be so sweet it'd be like drinking syrup.
Oh,
so making beer is a balancing
level.
Act. It's a balancing act between the malt and the hops.
Okay,
we'll get there.
We'll get there.
So basically, Simcoe is a brand of hop, and the Simcoe hops are the hops get made for the brands of hops get made for the different characteristics. Like, some of them have pine flavors, some have grapefruit, some taste like pear, some taste like lemon. Like, they all have these little. If you ever talk,
is that natural or is that something that they make?
So what they do is they like genetically modify by crossbreeding.
Okay.
Right. So they find, maybe it's disease resistant that they're crossing for, right? Or they're looking for more acid, so that you can use less of the hops, right? So stronger, they call them alpha acids. So stronger alpha acids, the higher the number of alpha acids, the less you have to use to get the same amount of bitterness.
Okay.
Right. To extract the bitterness. Or they do them for flavors. Hey, this one has resin, it has a very piney, resiny flavor that we like. And we want to put that out there. Right. Different kinds of beer. This one has an orange flavor. This one tastes like grass, or has an herbal note, or earthy.
Okay. So we digress.
Yeah.
Because you and your brother went to go taste these beers.
Yeah. So we find Simcoe hops, and my brother goes, hey, you know how to brew beer? And I go, well, yeah, I made it a couple years ago. And he's like, can we make a beer with all Simcoe hops? I'm like, let me go look.
I'm gonna go find out.
And so, so
This is good. We got a couple people coming. My neighbor upstairs, he says, his wife Alex says, Simcoe. Well, now we know Kevin knows his shit. Clap, clap, clap.
so that literally started the journey.
Okay.
I didn't know it did at the time. So I made a beer with all Simcoe hops that we called Simply Simcoe, and it was pretty good. And then I'm like, I think I could make this better.
And how'd you make it? You with that little.
Yeah. So let's talk process then.
Okay. You know what? Let's switch this banner right now because we're jumping from backstage with Kevin because
I got ADD.
I appreciate you giving us a little backstory
side stage
into how you who you are. I know who you are, but it's nice to let other people know. And let's go into our second segment, which is called Home Brewing Process.
Nice.
So back to the story at hand.
Yes.
That sounds like a song. You made this beer at your house.
Yes.
How's the process that you made it? Was it the thing that you got that was like brewing for dummies, or did you take a step up?
So there's a couple different levels of home brewing, right? There's the Mr. Beer level, or there's another thing called a Cooper's kit. And what that is it's a pre-made can of beer that you open up. It's like a syrup. And you mix it with hot water, and then you boil it for a little bit to sanitize it, cool it down, and add yeast.
Okay.
Right. So it's like you get whatever's in the can. It's like a can
and
of
you
Campbell's.
can do it on your stovetop.
Yeah, do it on the stovetop. So it's like a can of Campbell's soup.
Okay.
Right. So you're making Campbell's soup that then you
in a bottle.
right. Or a bottle or a can or a jar or something. And then you put that in, you ferment it, and then that's your beer. Right. Then the next one, oh no, Karen's on her way. No, she can't come over. What we had done is called extract brewing. And so what extract brewing is it's a little bit of grain, a little bit of extract. Okay. And so you can do it on your stovetop again. So you get like a 4 gallon stock pot. 3 gallons are real tight, but you can get a 4 or 5 gallon stock pot on your stove. And what you do is you get a couple pounds of what they call specialty grains. And the specialty grains have different flavors. So there's crystal malts, caramel malts, chocolate malts, black patent, which is like a dark if you're trying to make a stout, And so it's all barley. Most of it is barley. I mean, there's barley, wheat, corn, rye, but most of the malt that you're dealing with is barley.
Okay.
So it's typically 2-row barley. Sometimes it's 6-row barley, but most of it, what they do is they take this 2-row barley, they start to make it sprout. So they allow it to start sprouting, and then they kill the sprouting process, which causes it to malt, which creates all the maltose. I might butcher this, by the way, because I'm doing this off the cuff. But basically,
I think this is great.
if you just took barley and you threw it in and tried to make beer with it, there's not enough sugars in there for the yeast to really convert. So what they do is they start a malting process. So they take it and they water it down and get it to start to sprout, like the seed inside becomes viable, and then they kill that process. Right.
Okay.
So it's a malted barley. And then what they do for the different specialty grains is they stick them in a kiln and they hit them at different temperatures for different times. Sometimes they burn the heck out of it. And if they burn the heck out of it, it's real dark and you get real like coffee flavors, roast flavors, smoke flavors out of them.
I was just going to say, so that's very similar to like coffee where you can have like a dark roast or a medium roast or a.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so what you do is when you're doing extract brewing, you take a couple pounds of these different specialty malts like crystal malt or some dark malts, and you put them in a big muslin sack or a giant tea bag, basically. And you put them in your stock pot.
Oh, hold on. I think you sent me a picture of your tea bag.
No. Oh, that's the brew in the bag.
Oh, the brew in the bag.
That's okay. It's a similar idea.
A similar idea? Okay. Okay. For those of you listening, it's not the tea bag.
This is brew in a bag. So this is that extract brewing on a giant scale.
Okay.
This is when you put all of the grain that you're using in
everything
in one big bag. And then
It sounds like crap again.
Damn it.
Dang it. Do we sound bad again?
Yeah. I don't know what's going on. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Robot voices. Is it gone? Let's do that. Yes. See, it's not making it enough. It's not making enough where
This should be bad. What the heck? Check. Still there? Robot check. Like meep. Oh, really? Check 1, 2. Check
2. Check. It's probably our.
Getting worse.
It's getting worse. Oh, this is no good.
This must be a night thing.
Having technical difficulties. Yes, we are. We're good. Are we good now? We're getting. I love the fact that I don't know what's going on there. I think it might be either my internet connection. It might even be my computer. Like I said, I'm not really sure. But for those of you that are sticking with us, it means a lot. Thank you guys for bearing with us through this crap.
Anytime it gets bad, let us know. That's
anytime
great.
It's getting bad, throw up in the comments just a bunch of middle fingers, and that way I know what's going on here. Yeah. I love this. It's a night thing. It wouldn't be it. Yeah, because the first podcast with your brother, the audio was such crap.
That's what you were saying.
So, all right, it's getting looks like it's getting better now, hopefully. Okay. And luckily my wife is in the other room and she's listening and she's doing this. So she
5 foot Viking brewery.
5 foot Viking brewery. I'm out. You know, that's actually
not a bad idea.
I'd like to do a 5 foot Viking beer. I think you're the guy that should talk. We should do this, and we'll get to it because
actually I got another idea for that.
We do have. All right, you're back to normal. Okay. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you guys jumping in. It means a lot that we know this because we don't know that from our end.
No, from our end, it sounds great.
We would just keep talking and be like,
for sure.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, we didn't even realize it sounds like mierda.
All right, we're back.
So, back to
extract brewing.
Yes.
So you take a couple pounds, you put them in, you kind of soak them, and you get all the juices out of them, right? And then you take the bag and you throw it away. And then what you do to get all the sugars that you're going to have the yeast convert, they actually pre-make extract for you. So it's either a powder or like a syrup, and you add those in to put all the sugars into the water that you're going to need. So you use the grains to add all your malt flavors, and then you do the extract to pump up the sugar.
Okay.
Right. And then when all that's done, you bring it up to a boil, and then you start adding your hops. Okay. Right. And so the quantity and the time that you add your hops has an impact.
I was just going to ask, how long is this process?
So the brewing process, so I always say I could get it done in 6 hours by myself or 9 hours with help.
Well, when I came over, it took 9 hours.
Well, we also did a big beer and we did a second beer on top of the big beer.
That's true.
So that was like a 10.5%. I think we have some actually.
Oh, we got we didn't even talk about this, Kim. Oh. I am so sorry. I should have talked about this at the beginning. We are drinking, and the reason why I didn't talk at the beginning of what we are drinking is because this one is just this is the
we're drinking Trader Joe's.
It's Trader Joe's. We're just drinking some beers right now because in about 5 minutes we are going to be testing some of Kevin's beer, which I'm excited. Scared.
I didn't study.
And anxious and looking forward to it. So I'm almost done with this. So I think we're getting ready to start into the first one. Yeah. But okay, so we were talking about the process.
Yeah. So you start adding hops, right? So the whole process takes it depends on your process. It depends on the equipment you have and all the other things. So normally what we did when we were doing the first batches, I had a 4-gallon kettle. You add about 3 gallons of water. You throw in the grain, you throw in your extract, and then you start it boiling. Right. So we would get it boiling. And then once it's boiling, you start a 60-minute timer typically. So you boil for about 60 minutes and then you add hops. And so depending on the kind of hops you add, the alpha acid quantity of the hops and when you add them, it changes. So early on, if you drop them in at 60 minutes, it adds bitterness. If you add them in the middle, it adds flavor. If you add them near the end, it's aroma. Right. So you have these different flavor curves because the oils in there are very volatile.
So it's really important for what time you put what. So we're talking, this is like Harry Potter shit and in a cauldron, and you got to put the right shit at the right time or it can turn out.
Well, it always, the best part is it all ends up like beer at the end of the day. Right. So I mean, unless it gets infected or something horrible happens, you can drink it. It may not be what you thought it was going to be. Right. It may not be the perfect vision that you had for the beer, but at the end of the day, if it's as long as nothing goes wrong with it, some bacteria gets in or something you don't want,
I think beer is beer.
Yeah.
And,
Exactly.
trust me, I've tasted some bad beers and I still finished the beer.
Yeah. So you do add all your hops, you get done with your boil, you cool it down. And then once it's cool, around 75 degrees. So what we were doing is putting it in the sink surrounded by ice and water and replacing the ice and the water to keep it, to cool it down as quickly as possible. And you cover it up because you don't want bacteria to get into the hot beer because then if it gets in there before the yeast does, now you have it in face. It's very similar to how they make like stock or
you can't touch
broth.
anything.
After it cools down, you can't touch anything. It's got to be super sanitary after that because you don't want anything getting into it and out competing the yeast.
Okay.
That's when you get bad. That's when it's not beer. Okay. That's when it's something something disgusting. So then it is at that point, it's a matter of, in the beginning, when you're doing extract brewing, you don't have control over what goes in the extract. Normally what I would do is start with the lightest extract I could find. So there's not a lot of extra stuff in it, and then use the specialty grains and the hops to adjust. Later on, what you do is you move into all grain, right? And all grain brewing is where instead of the extract, you put in all of the grain. So you put in there's a 2-row base malt.
You're doing the whole thing.
So you put in like 20 pounds of grain, right? And then what you want to do is you basically make oatmeal, right? You make barley meal. So you actually pull up my system here. I'll show you.
All right, let me jump back into the branding.
This kind of gets an idea of it.
Which one?
Let's
this one up here?
This one.
This
one here.
Okay. So if you're watching, you've got a fantastic picture of Kevin's profile, and it looks like he's got a phone on his belt, and
that's my tool belt.
And he's got this giant pot that he's look like you're stirring something with a.
Yeah, so this is my system. So this is the all grain system that I have. It's a 3 vessel system, and I use pumps to move the water between the 3 vessels. Okay. It's a little more on the advanced side. Right? Okay. I've been doing this for 12 years now, so it's. As the hobby goes in, you just start investing in more and more bigger pots.
Oh yeah, I remember 5 years ago you didn't have pots. No, you had ice pumps. Coolers.
Yeah. The igloo coolers is a good place to start too. Yeah. So the process doesn't change based on the equipment. The steps are the same. All the equipment does is make it easier to move liquid from vessel to vessel.
It's like paying a $200 base and $200 base, and then
they both make music. Yeah, right. It's just and it's about precision and quality after a while. For sure. Right. Okay. So this one I have hot water in one, and then you pump the hot water and you mix it with the grain, which is what I'm doing right there. Okay. So that thing is full of grain, and we're adding hot water to it, right, to turn it into this oatmeal. Okay. Right. And so the oatmeal sits between 148 and 158 degrees Fahrenheit. And what that does is these enzymes that are present in the grain activate in those temperatures. And what they do is they go around and they find all the maltose, and they start chopping it up into little smaller pieces for yeast to be able to eat. Because yeast don't eat maltose in its normal form. They have to have it pared down. Okay. So the lower the temperature, the more fermentable. Like normally the drier the beer is, and the higher that temperature in that range, the thicker the beer comes out. Because the less fermentable, they call it wort. So what you do is you basically make this oatmeal and you collect the oatmeal juice, right? The barley juice. And so the barley juice is called wort, which is actually spelled W-O-R-T, like wort. Oh, but it's pronounced wort.
Well, I'm going to call it wort.
It's a German thing. I don't know. So you collect the oatmeal juice and you bring all of that into your boil kettle, and then you boil that and add your hops just like you did with the extract brewing. So with the all grain brewing, the process for extract and all grain, it's not much different. I mean, the extract is just, you're not doing all of the grain, you just do a little bit of grain.
So it seems to me that there's the advanced way of making beer where you got to put all the grain in and you got to do all the steps. But then it seems like there are some affordable ways where they kind of take some of the steps out and do it for you.
Well, and space too. I mean, not everybody has a garage that can put all the, turkey burners down, or, I mean, some people build whole brew stands with, everything all set up with electric fired kettles. Okay. And that's where I want to go.
Yeah.
Don't tell Amy.
It's going down. We got a few comments. I got to jump into some of these. We got my buddy Adam tuning in. Good to see you on here, buddy. Thanks for being here. We got Brett, my neighbor, Harry Potter and the Cauldron of the Night. Ooh, that's
pretty good.
Cauldron of the Night. I think that's the way to go.
I like that.
And Amy says, I heard that.
Delete that comment. Hide that comment.
I love it. And my friend Angie, She says, I'm drinking with you guys tonight. 4 a.m. is going to come early. Yes, this much is true because this podcast goes until 3 a.m.
You haven't even started drinking beer.
So you know what? Let's do it. Let's start with some beer right now. We got, real quick, a couple other ones. Dad, when you homebrew is, I think the rest is going to come after that. But Kim says, Kevin and Tone, drummer,
we're actually talking about that.
Need to make a beer together, which that would be pretty a crazy infused
We're
beer.
actually talking about doing something.
That would be pretty amazing.
Recently, actually, we're thinking about doing something along the lines of what we're drinking. One of the ones we're drinking tonight.
Okay, and my friend Tony, good to see you on here. You guys need a 4 Horsemen drink. I don't know about that, bro. We're talking 4 Horsemen is Johnny, Jack, Jim, and.
Maybe just a name.
Yeah, maybe just the name. We'll just make the name.
Move it to like 4 different barrels along the way.
Oh, here we go. Dad came through with it. When you homebrew, what is the cost in relation to store bought?
Buy it at the store if you want to save money.
Okay,
right.
If you want to save money, buy it at the store.
You can't beat AB InBev, butt wiper and the like, and those the cheaper, more commercial beers because they're making it at such scale that
Oh, their production is so massive.
Tens of thousands of gallons. These huge tanks of it's crazy. But it's not so much about saving money. It's more about making something. It kind of has that. Why do you make sourdough when you can go to the store and buy it?
Yeah,
right. It's cool. It's something you made. It has your vision in it.
So homebrewing
flavors
probably starts off more as just a passion, something that you want to do, something that you want to have fun with.
Sometimes
it
starts off as a gag gift.
Yeah.
Right. Somebody gets a Mr. Beer kit and they're like, oh, and they're like, oh, that was gross. I wonder what else I can do.
Yeah. Well, we're going to find out right now because, ladies and gentlemen, our next segment.
One of these bottles hasn't been open for a little bit. It might explode. So
this is called Munich Dunkel, which is 4.5%. And this is we're going to drink something that Kevin made. So
maybe.
When did you make this?
I don't remember.
All right.
This was made, I think this was last year. Yeah. Cause I submitted this to the National Homebrewing Conference last year. So 2020.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe 2019, maybe.
And how long? So, well, let's grab this. Let's grab the beer. Hold on.
I'm plugged in.
You're plugged in, bro. So also, if you're at home and you're listening, I was just informed from my good friend, Mr. Edgar, Ed Namrock podcast. He hit me up because he's been helping me out with my podcast since day one. And I can't stress enough how incredible it is to have such a good friend like that. But he texted me because he's watching and he said that something is going on with the platform that we're using. And so occasionally if the audio goes bad, it's not on our end. It's the platform will, it'll clean itself up within a few seconds. So apologize for that, but hey, we're live. We're not pre-recording. So thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
That's good.
We got a few more comments. Let's jump into those right now. Amy jumps in. Quantity over quality.
Yeah, quality.
That definitely sounds like a Budweiser.
That's actually my nickname.
Quantity over quality. It's wild. Okay. Let's see. What do we got here? Brett. Women can create baby. See, here's the thing. I need to pre-read these before I just put them up here. When create babies, men can create beer until women conquer beer. Then all of us males.
Oh, obviously you don't know about pink. You obviously don't know about the Pink Boot Society. There's a whole group of women brewers that are just amazing.
What?
Oh yeah, no,
it's
huge. It's awesome.
Okay.
No, hey.
All right, Brett.
The cool thing about
There you go, Brett.
Brett.
I love you, buddy.
The thing about beer making is that it's not gendered, right? I mean, maybe traditionally, right? But everything was a male-dominated
for sure
industry, right? But there are a lot of women brewers out there. Cheers to the women brewers. So
I'll say skull because it's Viking
beer, and it's German beer.
Oh, hold on.
Oh yeah. Well, you can just drink it.
I can't just drink this. I need to. We need to know about this.
Okay, so this is a Munich Dunkel. Munich Dunkel is a dark German lager. the head retention on this is a little poor just because it's kind of old. I found this.
We got sound issues again. Let's wait a little bit. Let's see if it resolves itself. Sorry, Angie. Sorry, everybody at home. I think we look like robots, maybe. That's okay. There's lost by all right. So let me know when we're back. I know. It's probably still going, right? Check. Let me know when it's done.
We'll edit all this out in post.
Why did you read that? What do you think? Are we back? Check.
Nuns made beer first from Amy. She would know. She reads a lot.
I'm just gonna leave this one out. It's still
Still
doing
nobody, huh?
Still doing it. Well, maybe let me go back to main stage and see about this. Check 1, 1, 2.
You might be peaking.
It's only at 3 though. We're good now. See, it even went before I went to this
It's funny,
because
like
there's
when
like
we
a
go
30
to
second.
when we
lag.
go to this, it's like
There's like a 30-second lag. So
okay.
All right. Well, looks like we're all good. I appreciate you guys
the
once again.
the software's been drinking.
All right. So
We had a couple questions real quick.
yeah, let's back up real quick. We got Nuns made the first beer.
Yes.
Nuns made beer
And
first.
that's from Amy. Amy reads a lot.
Okay.
So it's probably true. Originally, the brewers were the nuns and the monks in the monasteries.
Uh-huh. Oh.
That's actually how they couldn't eat when they were doing their fasting, so they would drink.
All right.
Some of that may be completely made up on the spot, by the way.
Yeah.
Just a heads up.
Amy
knows all of this.
I got to throw this out there real quick. Marlene says Edgar is a homie. That is 100%. Thank you, Edgar, for all your help. And Jessica says,
why do you pour
beer sideways?
Very good question. Because
that
beer,
is a good question.
Because beer has carbonation in it. If you pour it straight in, it tends to foam, and then you end up with this much foam and this much beer. Right? You want to pour it sideways, and then as it gets near the top, you tip it so that you get just enough foam. Now, again, this one doesn't have a lot of foam because it's over a year old.
Okay.
So sometimes if they're in the bottle, and they're there for too long, one of two things happens. They either overcarbonate or they die out. It's like I can't find a nice common balance on it. But
Dad says, did you open the bottle with the 5-foot Viking bottle opener? Yes, we did. We did. Absolutely. Brett says, why did you read that? Brett's one of my homies. Lives upstairs.
We thought it was an eye test.
Yeah, he thought it was we thought it was an eye test, so we just went straight for
our
it.
age, we just read.
All right, now we got some
steel rod.
We got some. Where are we at? Where's steel rod? Oh, I didn't see it.
Oh, I like this one.
Is that Neff? All right, Neff. Oh, I love you, Neff. Love this. I just threw away my beer brewer because I got frustrated and didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
I should have waited for this show. That's pretty awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Well, now you can go out and get another one. So let's do this.
This beer is Munich Dunkel, which is a dark German lager, right? So the difference between lagers and ales tend to be a little bit more robust. Lagers are cleaner fermentation. They tend to be very dry.
Okay.
And they take longer to ferment. So normally you can ferment an ale in about 2 weeks. Lagers take at least 4, and they ferment at cooler temperatures. It's a different family of yeast. So there's a ale yeast and lager yeast, they're both beer yeasts, but one of them is top fermenting and the other one is bottom fermenting. So this tends to be clean, but this will have like dark caramel, some kind of bread notes to it. It's made with remember the specialty grains I was talking about? Yeah. So one of them is called Munich, and that's why Munich Dunkel. It's still a base grain, so you still get a lot of sugars out of it, but it also has a lot of bread.
Okay.
So like bread and biscuits.
All right. Skull. That actually has some good carbonation to it. It's
still carbed. It just doesn't have the head retention.
I love head retention.
I know.
I had to.
No, that was good.
All
That
right.
was good. I had a dirty glass. I poured that in.
It was good times.
But yeah, so this one,
This is good.
right. It's like drinking bread,
Yeah. Oh,
but it's light. I mean,
Marlene.
it's still 4.5%. You know.
Well, here's a good thing too. 4.5%. Now, how do you know it's 4.5%?
So that's where science comes in.
Oh, and this is right up your alley.
Yeah.
This is why you went to college.
Well, what's really funny is the guy that taught, the guy that taught me how to brew is actually the stage manager for the Iron Maidens, right? Chris Knudsen.
Oh yeah.
And so he was a brewer a long time. He brewed for OG's Pizza and did a lot of brewing back in the day. And so when I went from the extract brewing to the all grain brewing, it's a little confusing. You know, you don't quite understand how to mix the grain and the water and what ratios and what temperatures. So he came over and really walked me through the process. And one of the things that so what's really funny is we disagree a lot because I'm a very scientific brewer. Like I need to measure everything and stuff. And he's more of the artist where it's like a pinch of this and a pinch of that.
Okay.
So he'll throw a pinch of hops in a beer and I'm like, what did you just do? And he's like, it'll be fine. Like it'll be beer at the end. But it's like, I want something that's repeatable. And if something goes wrong, I want to know what steps could have, where didn't we measure? Where didn't we, come up with the right numbers to hit the right value? So what you do, I wish I would have brought it, but basically there's a hydrometer. Think of it like a fishing bobber. Okay. Right. So you get a tall flask, you fill it up with the beer when you're done with it. Oh, shout out Chris Knudsen.
Yeah.
You put this thing called a hydrometer. And so it's basically bobs in the liquid and it's got a stem and the stem has graduations on it. Okay. Right. So right where the stem meets the water, you take or the top of the liquid, you take a reading. Right. And that tells you how much alcohol is in it? That tells you how much potential alcohol is in it. Cause it's basically how thick is that? Cause if it was water, it's just going to sink, it sinks to the bottom. Basically it hits, if you looked at the reading, it would be like, temperature or any kind of thermometer, or whatever, it'd be like 1.000. Mm-hmm. So that's the temperature. That's the buoyancy of water at 60 to 68 degrees or whatever it is. Like, again, all of these numbers are made up on the spot, but basically if you just had pure water, it would float at a specific number. Right. So when you add all the sugars, it causes it to float higher. Okay. Right. And that changes the number to a higher number. And so what you do is after that, you let it ferment. And when it's done fermenting, you take another reading. Do it again. And now it flows lower. So it can change. So the ferment or the alcohol increases content over time. Okay. Yeah. So as it starts to ferment, that number will change. Right. So normally I let it go a week, 7 to 9 days, and then I start taking readings. Mm-hmm. And the day when I get the same reading from yesterday and today, that's when you know it's there. Or basically done. You may be able to wait it out for another point or two here, but you let it go. And so what you do is you take the first number, subtract it by the second, subtract the second number from it, take that difference, multiply it by a value. Oh my gosh. 131 is the. Hold on a second. I don't have time. There's math. There's math. So the good news is there are tools out there that help you do all this. There's a software called Beersmith that I use. Okay. That you can just put in the stuff like, hey, here's my hydrometer readings, and it'll tell you how much alcohol is in the beer. Oh, wow. Okay. But it's basically a before and after, and you take the difference, multiply it by a number, and that tells you the alcohol by volume. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So you did that. Now this beer, you said that you gave it to. This one I submitted to the National Homebrewing Conference for. It didn't do that well. Apparently the sample I sent them got oxidized. Okay. Because this one doesn't taste oxidized. Oxidation tastes like wet cardboard. No, this tastes great. Yeah, it's something about the bottles when they got shipped must have gone through, or maybe they got hot or something. Okay. Something went funky with them in transit. And you bottle everything at your house too? I do. Well, mostly I keg because bottling's a pain in the butt and I hate it. Okay. So what I do now, like we just had Amy's birthday party, and we had a whole keg of this American ale that I made. It's really called a cream ale, but I hate calling it a cream ale because everyone expects it to be creamy. Okay. Cream ales are not creamy. Right. They make cream ales, but that's not right. Mm-hmm. So a cream ale is basically just a name for a beer. They used to be called bright ales or something else. All it is it's an American lager made with ale yeast. So they didn't have lager yeast around. So they used whatever ingredients they had after Prohibition. So it's made with 6-row barley and corn. And then they use ale yeast instead of lager yeast, which I like because the ale yeast, you can ferment faster. Mm-hmm. It may not be quite as clean, but it came out really good. And we called it Noodles Ale.
Noodles Ale.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a
So
question
that's
for you.
my nickname for my stepdaughter, Sydney.
Noodles?
Noodles.
Yeah. Noodles Ale. Marlene wants to taste some of this before it's gone.
Come get some.
Yeah. It's almost gone out of mine because we're going to try the next one. Come out here real quick, babe. So,
yeah.
Oh, here's a quick question. When you make a batch of beer at your house, how much do you make? Because you said that you keg it.
Yeah.
So
I have these 5-gallon soda kegs. Oh yeah, there she is.
All right. This is the Munich
This is the
Dunkel.
Munich Dunkel.
My wife.
I think I called it Dunkel Donuts. I think I called this one Dunkel Donuts just to give it a name.
Yeah.
I'm not really, what's funny is I'm not really the name artist guy. Like, I just want to make beer. Like,
Mhm.
somebody else could name it. Like,
It is creamy.
this is
so
not a
funny
cream
that
milk.
you mentioned that. Thank you.
Oh, nice.
What was I saying? Here, I'm gonna let you read this one.
Sydney just popped in when we talked about
Exactly
noodles.
when we talked about noodle
Perfect
ale. That's
timing.
awesome.
Hi, noodles.
Very cool.
So
So how much do you make? And
I normally make 5 gallons.
Okay.
Right. Because what I found is I can make up to 15 gallons. I can make up to a full, half barrel keg, like what you would expect is like a keg, like a kegger party. But my system will make that.
Okay.
I don't drink that much. I like making beer more than I like drinking beer, which I like drinking beer a lot, but I really like making beer. So it's like if I make large batches, I either have to bottle it off, which I hate because it's a lot of work, or it just goes bad and I dump it after a while.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I was making 10 and 15 gallon batches and I kind of scaled back down to make 5s.
This is a great idea, Kim.
Tasting night.
Kim, we need to make this happen.
Oh, I got to make a lot of beer.
Kevin, we need a homebrew tasting night.
Oh,
that sounds like a plan.
I got to make it. So what, interestingly enough, a little bit before
Is
you
Kim
invited me-
related? Are you guys
Kim
related?
Ford? No, that's not my sister's Kim also, but this is Kim Ford. This is a good friend of ours.
Awesome.
Um,
Kim, thank you so much for jumping in here and interacting, and everybody who's commenting and hanging out with us. Just really means a lot. Thank you for being here, spending your Tuesday with us. Skull.
What's funny is a little bit before you invited me on this podcast, I went through my cellar and I dumped most of my old beer. Well, because I couldn't tell if it's good anymore. It's been sitting in the closet for a long time. I opened a couple. They weren't that great. So I just started purging most of the ones I knew weren't, like some of the bottles I opened. I have no idea what this is. Like I didn't.
Oh my gosh!
I forgot the label.
You didn't even know what it was.
So I'm like, let's just. So I'm gonna start. I got to start fresh again.
We got my good friend, Mr. Mark Leverton in Colorado, hanging out with us tonight. He says, I used 5-gallon soda kegs back when I homebrewed in Boulder back in the early 90s. That's awesome.
And that's what I use. That's what I use mostly is the 5-gallon soda kegs.
Okay.
So you just clean them out and change the O-rings on them.
Yeah.
And then
you keep them in a freezer?
I have a 2-tap kegerator that I normally use for serving. And then I have a chest freezer in the garage that I use for conditioning.
I had to throw the horns up because it says Damage Inc. Sister. Love it.
So, I mean, yeah, I used to have 4 beers on tap and now it's like, I don't brew as, so early COVID, I brewed a lot and I got up to like about 228 pounds. And I'm like, maybe I shouldn't brew as much. And so
I think that's the story. I think that's everyone's story.
Oh my God.
And, ladies and gentlemen, if you're out there watching this live, give me a high five or give me the horns. If you gained as much weight as we did a year ago,
I think I gained 18 pounds.
It was, 18.
I'm down to 2 something. I've lost about 22 pounds.
I need to get on that horse, man. I've just realized that when I'm in school, I gain weight. I'm just stressed out of my mind. So you can only worry I'm hanging on to my fat.
You can only worry about so many things.
Yeah.
Literally.
And right now is probably the worst time for me to hang on to this fat jacket because
you're moving to the desert.
I'm moving to the fucking desert. I don't know what.
Well, you'll lose it. Just wear a trash bag.
That's what I'm hoping. I'm just gonna stay out in 125 degree weather in a trash bag.
No, you're not.
Pass out. My wife will find me when she comes home from work.
So yeah. This.
Right.
What else we got? So homebrew. Yeah. So a lot of it is the cool thing with homebrewing is there's all these different levels. Some people I've known do some like homebrew shaming, like you only do extract brewing or you only do. Strongest beer I've made so far, 11.5% barley wine, and I almost made it with the next with the Witt's Beard, Witzbeard was 10.5. I made a barley wine before.
It's
that
so
was
yeah. We
11
just
and a half.
got a comment from my buddy Tony. He says, Kevin, what's the strongest beer you've made so far?
Strongest is 11.5. That was a really big barley wine that I had made, and then when you and I made a barley wine, we got it up to 10.5.
Yeah.
So that was that was pretty epic.
I have a bottle of that in the fridge.
We'll have to drink
I'm
that.
totally down to drink it.
Oh.
I'm. Hey, listen, I'm good if you're good.
I'm good.
Okay,
Good.
because
We're here 5 hours.
So, ladies and gentlemen, back in the day, when I had another beard like this. Okay, so just so everybody knows, the 5 Foot Viking has been cupcakes. Is that robot? That's robots. Oh, is that robots? Robot voices. Robot voices. Let's see if we can jump out of this. Yeah, I know what we're doing. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I can't wait to go back and see this again. Like, I want to go back because what I do is every time I do a podcast, I do my podcast on Tuesday and on Wednesday, I watch my podcast and I critique myself.
That's good.
Because I want to know what I did good. I want to know where I can improve. I want to be, this was good. This was not good.
And that's when actually what's funny is early days of the band. That's what we did.
Yeah.
We would actually do a show, and I would record it with like a high 8 camera, and then a couple days later,
It's coming there. It's getting there. All right.
A couple days later, we'd go over to Dave Gold's house and we'd watch it.
Yeah.
We'd go, okay,
the transition from this song to that song.
Exactly.
Wasn't that good
I mean,
on the show.
I
You weren't
critique
moving that
myself,
much.
and this is my 25th podcast.
Nice.
I'm it's like 6-7 months into it now, so I'm learning something every week.
Well,
And
the quality of your guests is improving
much better now.
incredibly.
Now
I
it's
mean,
just
wow.
like I'm
Like
getting,
you can actually
easily,
afford top rate talent now.
I'm so much I'm like C status now, bro. Like
Yeah, you get like the Z level celebrities. Don't you know who I pretend to be?
don't you know who I pretend to be? This is awesome. All right, I hope it's getting better. I apologize for
No
this,
worries.
ladies and gentlemen.
No worries.
But I can't even remember what we were talking about. But we were talking about the 5 Foot Viking beard. Now the 5 Foot Viking goes back. My first beard I had was, I think I was 21, something like that. I was a young buck, and I had just the goatee, and it was really long. And then shaved that. I went clean shaven for a little bit. Back in about 2014, 2014 is when I started growing another beard.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew a beard that was longer than this. It was pretty big, and it had very little grays in it. I literally just had a little bit of gray in the middle. And in 2015, that's when we got together, and I went to your house and we brewed a beer because I was interested. I'm like, bro, how do you do this? And you're like, dude, show up at my house 7:00. And I'm like, in the morning?
Yeah.
Like
I start early. Otherwise, if you don't get done till late at night.
that's I'm professional late night guy. I'm like, dude, I got home from my gig at 4 a.m. and you want me to be at your house in 3 hours?
It's why I don't brew as often as I want to, because with the shows that we play, it's like if I can find a free weekend, I'll brew. But it's like I don't want to brew the day after a show or the day before too, because it takes a lot out of you.
Yeah.
You're out in the sun all day moving around. It can take it.
Well, nevertheless, I ended up showing up, and I don't know how I did that. And I was along for the ride because I was hanging out with you. You know what you're doing.
So much fun.
I was learning it. It was fun. And we brewed this beer, and Kevin called it Witzbeard. So the name of the beer is called Witzbeard barley wine. And this was a 10.5.
Yeah, but it took us 3 years to be able to drink it.
Because it's literally, I have a bottle in the fridge, and it says on the top, it says WB Witzbeard, and it says 11/15.
Yeah,
November of 2015.
Which is when we brewed it.
So this November will be 6 years.
Yeah. So what happened is I got a little adventurous with that beer because it tasted really good. It came out of the gate really, really, probably the best barley wine I've made. And then I'm like, you know what would make this better? Whiskey soak oak chips and dry hopping. And what dry hopping is, ladies, is adding. You take the hops that you have and you add them after to the finished beer.
Oh.
And so what it does, it gives it more of an extra aroma and more of a blast. Okay. But I left it in there for too long. And so because of that, it was like overpowering, almost vegetal. And then the oak chips had this kind of harsh So it didn't taste good for a long time.
Mhm.
And so I hid it.
Well, that's what you told me. You kept
Yeah.
telling me you're like, let it sit.
Yeah, I
let
put it in the
sit.
closet and I let it go for like every 6 months. I might crack one bottle and try it. Go, not
No.
yet, not yet. And I think it was about 4 years. And then I thought it was all gone. I finally stumbled across a whole case that I had hidden in the closet. Remember, I told you I purged all the beer.
It's right there, bro.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I purged all the beer, and when I did, I found a whole case of it. I'm like, I wonder if it's any good. I cracked it, and it came out good.
Yeah.
So it just sometimes, if it's a big enough beer, you can wait.
Okay.
Beer doesn't normally age like wine. It's normally you want to drink it pretty fresh.
Yeah.
But some of the stronger ones, Scotch ales, imperial stouts,
You want to
barley
let those
wines,
wait.
You can.
Okay.
You can. There's a lot of times what people will do is they actually will brew a barley wine, let it sit for a couple years, and then they'll brew a brand new batch of the same beer and they'll blend it.
Oh.
So you get a little fresh, a little aged to kind of give it a thing. That's a lot of work. Like I just want to make beer. Like I don't want to have to like plan 3 years in advance to make a beer that's going to be mixed with another beer later. Like that's a professional brewer thing for me, you know? But yeah, that beer came out pretty good.
Well, before we jump into that one, I want to jump into, because I'm done. I'm ready for the next.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So we're going to try this next beer. This is called Bald Nessie, and it is a wee heavy.
Yeah.
And it's 9.5%.
Yeah, so this is a strong Scotch ale, also called a wee heavy. The Scottish beers are very malt forward. There's not a whole lot of hops in them. This one, they're also kind of low carbonated. I'm going to pour into this. It'll look very similar, actually.
There you
go. But yeah, they're very, very strong malty beers.
Mm-hmm. And when did you make this one?
This one is actually recent. I made this one 6 months ago.
Okay.
I don't remember. I didn't label it. It's written down somewhere.
Sounds like a plan. All right. Also, if you guys are watching right now, please do me a favor. Let me know if I'm curious if anybody out there has homebrewed in the past. If you've homebrewed in the past, please leave a comment. Let me know if you homebrewed. If you did, I'm curious what you brewed. Oh, this is like the Chimay. That popped off in my face.
That's
right
a good
there.
question. So this one's a little bit, you can't quite tell, but it's a little bit lighter than Dunkel. The Dunkel is very dark brown. This one is has like some dark red, kind of medium brown.
All right. Got a couple people jumping in here. Jessica, hey, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Is brewing beer the same process as brewing cider?
It's similar.
Okay.
So cider, what they do is they take juice, right? They take like a bunch of apples or pears or some kind of juice, and they juice the fruit,
Okay.
remove the pulp, and then they add yeast.
Okay.
So it's similar in a way, but they don't add the hops and do all the other stuff. It's more like fermented fruit juice is how you get cider.
Okay.
The fermentation process is very similar,
Okay.
but not necessarily the brewing process.
And Kim says that Rodney wants to try that one.
Oh yeah, I got some more, Rodney. I'll bring some over.
What is this? Frank, me, ginger ale. So you did
ginger
brew some
ale.
ginger ale. Okay. Some
Ooh.
ginger ale.
So
Wait, you mean ginger ale? Like,
ale with ginger in it.
oh, ale with ginger.
Well, so one of the fun things with home brewing, I don't typically do it because I'm more of a beer purist. It's just my style. Everyone's got their own individual style. But the cool thing about home brewing is there's a lot of experimentation.
Mhm.
A lot of experimentation. You can add, because you're not limited like some of the commercial brewers are, right? You don't have to sell the beer.
Yeah.
Right.
You can
So
just have fun with it.
You can have fun. You can make whatever you want. Right. So I've had some crazy beers. I've had, pumpkin beers with spices in them, which is kind of standard, but I've had hibiscus.
Oh.
I've had, yeah.
Oh, this smells good.
Oh yeah, it's dark, toasted or dark caramel, burnt caramel flavors.
Okay, so this is Bald Nessie.
So Bald Nessie is actually named after Dave Gold.
I love that guy.
He's a little bit follically challenged in the top, but he helped me brew the original version of this way back when.
Uh-huh.
This was we originally tried to do this as an extract beer,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't do this as an extract beer.
Okay.
We found that out. But when I finally got an all grain system, this is probably the 6th or 7th iteration of Bald Nessie. I think I finally got I've got the recipe pretty much perfected now.
Okay. All right.
This one, I submitted this to the National Homebrewing Conference this last year. It didn't win, but it did get to the next round. So it got past round 1, which is good. And I got a lot of good feedback on it.
Okay.
The only thing I see is, and I agree with it, is the carbonation is really low.
Yeah, it's weak
Like I need
status.
to probably recarb it.
Can you do that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I got magic.
All right.
I have a Blickman carbonator that actually force carbonation through it kind of recirculates the beer and carbonates it as it pumps it back through.
Okay.
Yeah.
Skull. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that one's tasty.
Oh, that's really good.
It's sweet. It's sweet and thick.
No, but it's like
it's pretty.
It's not
strong
on that
and warming, but it's not. It doesn't stick to the back of your.
Yeah, it doesn't turn me into the Joker. Like
yeah, it's not so sweet that it.
Yeah,
but see, you'll see the difference between the two is the Munich Dunkel is a little bit more balanced.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a little bit more hops to the goal of the Munich Dunkel as far as your hop additions is to just kind of balance it out.
Okay.
You don't want it to be too sweet. You don't want it to be too bitter. You want it to the Munich Dunkel is still a little malt forward, but your balance is closer. With this one, your malt is a lot higher than your hops. So that's why it's a little bit sweeter, almost syrupy, but not quite. All right. It's very thick and sweet. And is the style for the beer.
Rodney, I would definitely agree. Beer is good.
Yeah, this one, I inadvertently drank 4 pints of this the other day.
Ooh.
That was a bad idea.
4 pints?
Yeah.
How'd you wake up the next day? Because we're not young bucks no more.
It was a rough one. I had one with dinner. Well, I had one while I was making dinner. I had one with dinner. And then I had the two drink Kevin decided to become 4 drink Kevin with this 9.5% Scotch ale. And yeah, it was a good time. It was a good time. So yeah, I mean, like I said, homebrewing is really the experimentation that's going on in homebrewing is crazy. Like you can add, there's certain things you can do in homebrewing you can't do in regular brewing. You can add whiskey, right? If you wanted to add, like if a lot of times in breweries, commercial breweries, if they want to get bourbon flavor into a beer, they add it to a bourbon oak barrel and they let it age in the bourbon oak barrel. If you want bourbon flavor in a homebrew, put some bourbon in it.
Pour some bourbon in it.
There's no rules, right? Now, the rule is in California, you can make up to 500 gallons a year. You can't sell it.
Yeah.
Right. So ATF would come knocking on your door, but you can brew up to 500 gallons, and you could bring that to homebrew clubs and you can give it to friends and things like that. They're accepting with you being able to hand it out. Oh, growlers. Geez.
I love this. Kim, I love the interaction and thank you so much. Oh, you know what? I think we might be going robot again. Maybe. I don't know. I have no idea.
Are we robot?
I hope not. But Kim is jumping on here and she says, save the Fords some. And she even said,
we'll bring our growlers. What I'm actually thinking about doing with this beer is I'm actually going to bottle it because right now it's on tap and it's dangerous. Oh, so I need safety's sake, I think I need to bottle it, keep it away from, Oh no, we're good. So,
all right. Oh, by the way, Marlene, you need to come out and try this real quick.
Oh yeah.
Because I will finish it very quick. You know me. You know me. You're like 9%. You're not going to drink all that. Yes, I will.
Oh yeah.
But
this one's
so. Oh, you wasted no time.
I put some.
Yeah. You got to try this. I love it. Amy chimes in here and she says, so dangerous. Yes, it is. Yeah, right?
Oh, yeah.
Some good stuff right there.
Thank you.
See, okay, so I know we talked about like how it takes different, there's different processes and different this. So for the barley wine, though, when you're saying that sometimes it takes longer, you can just let it sit.
Yeah, because the alcohol content. Right?
Yeah,
the alcohol content, how many hops you put in, things like that act as preservatives, and they'll let the beer go, last longer. Mm-hmm. Right? If it's a lighter beer, IPAs or things where it's something with delicate flavors, you want to drink it sooner.
Okay.
Right. So like that.
Is that why? Is it Boston Lager? Who's it? Sam Adams. They have like on their beers. They have like a born on this date type thing.
Well, especially with the Boston Lager, it's not a very strong beer, so you want to get it. You want to get it fairly fresh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, where are we going? There's so many things to talk about. It's like
I know, dude.
there's so many topics.
And it's funny because especially when you start drinking, like it's so funny, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching this, before we even went live, me and Kevin, we were sitting here. We went over the itinerary for the nights. We were like, okay, we're going to do this and we're going to go here. Let's check the microphones. Let's check the audio. Let's check the video. Okay, we're good. Then we're going to move into this segment, and then this segment, we're good. And then we get 2 segments in and we're like we don't even know what we're doing. Let's just
segment.
Well, I do know that, and the reason why I started this podcast, and I say this a lot, and I can't stress it enough, that one of the main reasons why I started this podcast, because I'm a musician.
Yeah.
100%. That's what I do for a living. That's, this podcast is something very outside of my comfort zone. And I started this during the shutdowns, during the lockdowns, during all that, because I miss that interaction.
Right.
Being a 100% musician, being on stage, I interact with people on stage every day, all the time. So not having that was really weird.
That's how I ended up doing baloney for 3 months.
I noticed. I remember that. And if anybody can go back into your timeline, please don't, because that was such a low point in your life.
To hit that real quick, I was just eating bologna because I had a pack of bologna and I took a picture of it. And
another 30 seconds. This is so annoying. I gotta figure this out, hopefully.
oh, Chad Adams. What's up, buddy?
Baloney.
Now I got super pressure. I got Chad Adams.
Yeah. Who's Chad?
Grey Wolf Brewing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. Fords love this. All right, we're robots.
Yeah, shout out to Grey Wolf Brewing. Chad's one of the guys that he was with the homebrew club that I was a part of, or a beer and homebrew club, and he actually went out and made it. Right, he went out and opened his own brewery. Now
We're good now.
He did it right before COVID, but he's surviving. He's doing well from what I understand. So if you're out in the Riverside, Corona area, check out Grey Wolf Brewing.
All right, so we're getting better. All right, thank you guys, and once again for watch and sticking with us during these difficult times. Appreciate you guys. It's funny.
No, it's in Norco, Northern Corona. I always forget that.
Okay. Chad,
Yeah,
brother,
he's an amazing brewer.
hey, thank you for hanging out. Thanks for being here, man. Appreciate you.
How do you brew gluten-free beer?
Oh.
You don't. No, it can be
Get
done.
more music. How do you brew gluten-free beer? Ooh,
So you can make gluten-free beers.
Mhm.
They tend to make them with a different grain, right? So
Okay.
they make them, I think, with sorghum. A lot of people do that. They do it with Bravery Brewing. Yeah, that's a good one too. They do it. They tend to when they brew without barley, they normally have to use a lot of enzymes. So they add a bunch of enzymes into the beer to help the yeast and help break down the malt or the I'm gonna butcher it.
Well, it's because you've been drinking 6 beers, bro.
So they basically have these long chain carbohydrates that have to get broken down. And so what they do is they actually remember I told you about the enzymes that convert the maltose to better sugar.
Mhm.
So in sorghum and the other ones, they don't have as much of those enzymes. So they have to actually add additional enzymes to help break the beers down.
Well, instead of going into the how do you brew gluten-free beer, it is possible.
Oh yeah, no, they make gluten-free beers all the time. I think there's one called Glutenberg.
Glutenberg.
Yeah.
Nice.
Like Steve Gutenberg.
But I think that as a home brewer, is that, I mean,
it's possible. Well, so the cool
is
thing
it more
about
difficult?
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Right. But the cool thing about being a home brewer nowadays, like the people that were doing it in the early 90s, is the Wild West. They were just trying to find ingredients, like whatever they could
figure
get.
it out.
They're using bread yeast if they had. I mean, just whatever they could get their hands on to make good beer. So nowadays with the tools that you have, right? There's local homebrew shops all over the place.
Yeah.
Right. There's
oh my God. And there's so many resources that we have online
Yeah.
and here in our communities. I mean, here in Huntington Beach, we have so many local breweries that are at our fingertips, and people that know all about this. I mean, we've been friends for a long time. You know all about this. I can call you up and
for sure.
And
I love talking about beer.
Oh yeah,
right.
I love drinking it.
Oh, me too. So, but yeah, the beer has just been a passion of mine, and it's that thing where you kind of like with music or with the podcast.
Yeah,
it's you taste the last beer you made, and you go, okay, where did I miss?
Yeah,
what could I do better next time?
Exactly.
What should I make next time? Oh, hey, I'm going to do an IPA again this time. What happened with my last IPA?
Well, you know what tripped me out is that when we got together and we were brewing that one time back in 2015, I remember as soon as we were done with everything, you went inside to your laptop and you had a spreadsheet of literally exactly the increments of this and this and what you put in. So I mean, I'm sure you could go hit your laptop and knew exactly the exact recipe that you made for Witt's Beard back in 2015.
I lost that one.
Well, that's fucked up.
I know. I had a laptop that had all of that on it, and it made me mad, and I slapped it, and I broke the hard drive.
Oh no!
And it had Witt's Beard on it, but now I have everything in the cloud now.
Okay,
but I lost a moment in time, so
it's okay. We'll have to do it again.
Beard, we'll make a new one.
2.0, bro.
Oh, it's a new beard.
It's a new beard.
It's a new beard.
It's a 2.0.
And this one we're not going to mess with like we messed with the last one. We're just going to make a straight up barley. We can make a straight up Witt's Beard barley wine.
I love this. My friend Tony's jumping in here and he says, surprised you guys didn't break the seal yet.
You can't see our bottoms.
You can't see underneath the table.
We actually don't have pants on. We're just wearing
We're actually sitting on toilets. I'm just kidding. This is a good time. Nice. I'm really appreciating this podcast, and
the cool thing is, like, if you're interested in getting into homebrewing, there's a lot of resources out there. One of the best books that's available that I'm aware of is John Palmer, How to Brew.
Okay,
right. I think it might even be available for free online, or you can get it on Amazon. You can also go to different websites. You can go to Amazon, right? Find homebrewing kits. There's some other sites you can go to as well, but there's plenty of stuff. Personally, I recommend go to your local homebrewer.
Absolutely,
support your local homebrew shop. Right? They need to stay in business, especially around COVID. I was going to Windsor Homebrewing in I think it's Costa Mesa, Santa Ana. It's right there on Bristol and Baker. Great homebrew shop. They also have a bottle shop too, and they have some of the really obscure, hard to find beers that are amazing. Professional beer drinkers, yeah.
Oh, yes, we are.
We don't get paid yet. We're still amateur. We haven't got paid yet for.
Yeah, I guess we're still amateur, but I mean,
we want to go pro.
I feel like we're
semi-pro,
pro-am.
Yeah.
And also Kim, I love this. Witt's Beard 2021.
Yes,
I like that. I think we should do this.
You have to come out of the desert.
Yeah, you
can stay in my house one night.
I'm down. I think we're gonna have to make that happen.
Oh, Steinfeld. Yep. Oh, there's Glenn too. Hey, Glenn.
Glenn.
Actually, hey, it's funny, Glenn. You showed up. Oh, you can't see it. This is a Long Beach. Let's see. Long Beach Hopheads.
Steinfeller's home brew in Long Beach.
Yeah. So Glenn is from the Long Beach Hopheads. Glenn was one of the first people I met in a homebrew club called the Long Beach Hopheads. And I met him at Beechwood Barbecue the first night I ever went to Beechwood.
Mm-hmm.
And I met him and he told me all about the homebrew club. And I said, how do I join? He's like, I think you just did. And so I got to hang out with these amazing people that love drinking beer. Oh, it wasn't a homebrew club. Excuse me. It's a beer drinking club it was around. Cause this was
very similar.
This was back in the day when craft beer wasn't that prevalent.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
So you had to find the right spots that had good beer. So they would put up the signal where it's like, hey, these guys have Stone, and these guys
it's the
have
back
this.
signal that goes up.
Goes up with like, here's a good beer. And we would do during Christmas they do different events where they do like either pub crawls or different things. So yeah.
Chad chimes in here.
Oh, Chad, yeah.
And Chad says Steinfeller's is where I bought my first ingredient kit.
Yeah. The cool thing
awesome.
with a lot of it is if you don't know what you want to brew. Most of the homebrew shops or online, they have a pre-made kit. So if you know the style of beer you like, you can I like brown ale. Like,
Yeah,
here's a brown ale kit, and it'll give you the extract kit. So
if you're a beginner,
yeah,
that's a good beginner way to go.
And typically what you want to do, or what I did, I don't know if it's the same path as everybody. What I did is I followed I got a couple kits, and that was like, show the process, what goes into it, what ingredients go in it, somebody else's recipe. Kind of the same when you cook. Like if I'm making stew for the first time, I'm going to look up a recipe, I'll make the recipe, and then I'll taste it and go, okay, where can I make this better?
Yeah. I'm going to add whiskey.
Whiskey makes every stew better.
Yes, it does.
Whiskey stew is actually my favorite.
And Chad also says, agreed. How to brew from Palmer covers all the goods.
Yeah. If you have no idea how to brew, like the home brewing for dummies that I had, there's a lot of gaps now that I know what I know.
Okay.
There's also a old school book from Charlie Papazian called The Joy of Home Brewing, which was like the Bible before there was more modern books.
Okay.
And then so the John Palmer's How to Brew is really, really accessible, and it walks you through all the steps. And again, like I said, you can get a homebrew kit with all the beer and all the ingredients for like $100, $150 total. And then after that, your kits are $30 or $40, $50 for a big kit. You can make a bunch of different beer, right? Okay. And so a lot of it is what you do is you start fermenting it. We didn't even talk about the fermentation process. We just talked about brewing. But once you do all the brewing and you cool the beer down, you have to store it somewhere. And so where do you store it?
Do you have like a 4-bedroom house and you only use 3 bedrooms and the 4th bedroom is just like wall to wall beer?
I wish. So at this point in time, I have a 7-gallon spike conical. So I actually have a stainless steel conical fermenter like you would have in a professional brewery with a glycol.
Because you're badass.
Well, I'm obsessed. There's people that have way more than that. Like I love homebrewing, but there's some people that homebrew I think if I didn't have a band, I would homebrew way more than I do.
Yeah.
I mean, every weekend, there's people that homebrew every weekend. Right. I'm almost an amateur compared to those guys. But what you do is when you ferment it, you have to store it somewhere. So it starts off with these plastic buckets. And with the plastic buckets, you put your beer, your finished wort in there, you add in your yeast and you seal it up and you put this little airlock in there. And what that allows, it does nothing can get in, but the CO2 that the yeast is going to release. Beer, by the way, is yeast excrement, and the carbonation is basically yeast farts.
Nice.
So thank you, yeast. Right.
Skull to yeast.
Skull. So the yeast, basically when the yeast eats the sugars, it excretes ethanol, alcohol, and CO2. So that's why you get bubbles in beer, and that's also where you get the alcohol from, is the yeast converting the sugar into those byproducts.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so what you do is you put it in a bucket, and then you store that somewhere in a cool place in your house at first until you have any kind of temperature control. But you want it to sit about 65, 75 degrees. You don't want it to get too hot. You don't want it to get too cold. Yeah, closet on the inner closet in the house.
Not against the wall.
Not against the wall, not on the outside. What I also advise is if you do it covered in a big plastic trash bag, because I have had it before where the little airlock gets clogged and it blows the lid off.
Tons of fun.
And there's beer everywhere.
I love how you learn through experience.
Oh yeah. I've done nothing smart like the first. It's just always from horrible mistakes that have happened. Right.
That's what proves for great, great stories.
The other thing you can do is people do carboys, and carboys are big glass, like sparkless bottles. Right. And that's with the glass, they're less gas permeable. They're a little bit better, but they're harder to manage. And then you can also do, we got audio?
Yeah. I'm just double checking.
Okay. And then the last one is kind of what I'm doing is with the conical fermenters or kind of a stainless steel fermenter. So I have it there, and I also do glycol chilling. So I run glycol through my beer to keep it cold. So it's inside a coil. It never touches the beer, but it's a heat exchanger inside. Yeah. So you haven't seen the new system. It's pretty cool.
Oh, no shit.
I meant to send you a picture, but of course I forgot because I prepared for this like 10 minutes before I showed up.
It's okay.
But yeah, the cool thing with the homebrewing things, you don't need a ton of space. You need a 4-gallon, 5-gallon stock pot, and go get a kit, and try it out. It's a fun hobby.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've been going for much longer than I even thought we would go.
We still
have some beer left, but I think what we should do right now is I think we should call it, because we're not going to get to the Wits beard tonight.
Why is that?
because we're already at an
It's
hour and a
finals,
half
Rick.
right
It's
now.
finals, Rick. Come on,
It's
buddy.
finals. It's
Stay with
finals
me.
week,
Don't you
Whit.
quit on me.
Yeah, no.
Don't you quit on me.
I think oh man, I'm torn right now.
It's fine.
I want to keep going, but at the same time, I want to be respectful
I get
to
it. You're an old
the
man.
listeners. You get it. I'm an old guy. All right. We got a couple. I'll tell you what. Let's leave it up to everybody. We've been having some audio issues, and we've been having this, and we've been drinking some beers. Should we keep going? We've got some people watching. I mean, I'm totally okay with going. Like,
Yeah, we can
I'll
do
go for
another-
3 hours, bro. That's like a regular
That's-
steel
that's-
rod gig.
I'm saying that's tough for a man of your age.
That's actually less than what a regular steel
I
rod
know,
gig
you
is,
guys
bro.
play so
Like-
much.
like you're a dick, bro. I'm trying to be
You're
courteous to
so
you,
good.
bro. Like you got to go like make tacos tomorrow, dude. Like
No. I work from home. I just got to roll out of bed and hit a computer. If I get my face on the keyboard, it's
all
like
right,
I'm
what do we
answering
got
text
going
messages.
on here? We got Whit is glossy eyed.
Oh,
I'm getting there. I think
oh.
it's just because I'm so emotional with how amazing this beer
Dude,
is.
it's cool that I mean we've known each other for so long, getting to brew the beer together. I'm really grateful that you wanted me to come on and talk about beer,
Yes.
right? Because a lot of times, and I mean, I also like talking about my band, right? But beer is like one of my other passions that I don't get to talk about all that often.
We got some great comments. We got some keep goings. Everybody says keep going. Keep going. Amy says keep going. Everybody says keep going. Go, go, go.
Oh, Amy wants me to
Yes.
talk about the Caucasian. Okay.
The Caucasian. Oh, hold on. I skipped that one. Oh, we're robot again.
Oh, dang it.
All right, 1 second.
We got to drink over robots.
Yeah, we got. Actually, can you grab the Wits beer? I got it over there. Alright, we're just gonna grab. I'm sure we got we're gonna grab the Wits beer. Oh yeah. Oh.
We still robots.
Probably. Let me go back to see if I can pull up main stage.
What the heck?
We should be fine. I don't understand what's
Check,
going
check,
on. And that's the thing too, is that like we're not peaking enough. We're not peaking enough at all. Like
No.
look at that. Like
Yeah.
we're not peaking enough at all. So still doing it. All right.
Still.
Let me do this. Robots. Are we getting better? I hope we're getting better.
Sunspots.
Must be the sunspots. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's do this. If we get to the 2-hour mark and we have more than 10 people still with us, that's a good time.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Cheers.
All right.
I love that one.
Oh my God, this is great, Jessica. Jessica says, we have turned the robot voice into a drinking game. Every time a robot voice comes on, we take a drink.
I think that's
Well,
a new thing now.
hopefully everybody is feeling as good as we are over here. But then again, we are drinking 9% right here.
Yeah.
We started off with 4%, 4.5. Now we're at 9 point. What is this one?
9.5.
9.5.
Yeah. What's interesting is some of the different brew processes. I know we still talk about beer at this point, but like for the Scotch ale, interesting things about Scotch ales is they tend to be you want to caramelize the malt. They call it the malt bill. So like what grains go into this, right? The malt bill for a Scotch ale is very simple. A lot of the times it'll be simply just pale malt, like one kind of malt, and it's just a crap load of it. So they use so much that you get all that malt flavor. And then what they'll do is they either, what I do for mine is I turn the heat on my kettle and get the bottom of the kettle hot. And then the first collection of that wort, I make sure it hits that kettle and steams. So I get a little bit of caramelization of the first sugars that are touching the bottom of the pan, right? Just to get a little bit more kind of burnt caramel flavors into it. And then what they do is you tend to do a long boil. So instead of the 60 minutes, I've seen 3-hour boils. right? Long boils because you want that to like kind of thicken up and get that.
Really?
It's called the Maillard reaction. It's when you're heating that up and it's kind of cooking the juice, all right? So it gets those nice burnt flavors, right?
Mhm.
Same thing like when you're searing steaks, right? You want to get that kind of nice burnt flavor in there. Like it just adds
it.
a little bit more complexity for a very simple grain bill.
Okay.
Right. And like for the like with the Dunkel, you normally do a longer boil because you're using Pilsner malt. Pilsner malt has a thing called DMS in it, dimethyl sulfate, which tastes like the water in a can of corn.
That's so good.
Yeah, it's
Just kidding.
gross. It's so gross. And so for those ones, you have to boil them pretty vigorously for like 90 minutes, 70 minutes at a minimum to kind of boil off all those bad
Mhm.
flavors, or else they end up in your beer. So the cool thing with like the journey of home brewing is you get to find all these, when you're doing different styles of beer, you get to learn all these different little tricks and tips as you go. There's a whole other style of all grain brewing called decoction brewing. And it's what the Germans used to do, right? Because thermometers weren't very accurate,
Mhm.
but they knew what boiling was. So they had a whole process.
That was accurate.
It was two things, right? Boiling is accurate. It's 212
Yeah,
at sea
exactly.
level, right? So the trick is that also the grains weren't very modified. So like those enzymes and things and the starches weren't readily available. So what they would do is they would hit it at a certain temperature. They would scoop out a bunch of the grain, put it in another vessel and boil it. And then they would take that and add it back in. Right. And it would have the added effect of converting more of the starches in the grain that they pulled out. And then when they bring it back in, it brought the temperature back up. Right. And they would do that a couple times through the thing to step the giant
Dude, this is
beers.
like a lot to take in
So
right
much.
now. Like,
There's so much.
but
So,
you've been doing this now for over
9
10 years?
Yeah, 10 years. I think next year will be, well, if you count the 3 beers that I did that didn't come out that great, that were, a kit, it's been over 10 years.
Yeah.
But I consider that first beer I made with my brother, which is actually why I call the little home brewery 2 Nights Brewing.
Yeah.
Even though there's only 1 night brewing anymore.
It's all right. He's there in
Well,
spirit.
what was really cool in the beginning is my brother would be like, "Hey, can you make a beer like this?" He's like, "I just had this. Can you make something with bourbon, like a bourbon flavor?" Like, "Sure, I'll make a bourbon beer." Or, "Hey, what about, I just had this beer. Can you make?"
Yeah.
So he was kind of the
Something
muse.
like that.
He was kind of the muse. He would just kind of put the seed of, can
Yeah.
you make this? And then I would go figure out how to make it. Like, how do you make a wheat beer with fruit in it?
I love Amy.
Oh yeah.
And Kevin is a super nerd.
Yes.
That's good times.
Oh, drink an amalgamator.
What is
Ooh.
what? Where are we at? What is this? Glenn?
Glenn's drinking amalgamator.
What is that?
Beechwood.
Yeah.
It's an IPA from Beechwood. It's amazing.
All right.
Shout out to Julian. Shout out to Glenn.
Very cool. All right, guys. Well, you wanted us to stay on here, so we are going to open up
Yeah.
Wit's Beard right now.
Oh, let's do it.
Let's do this.
Let's do
So Wit's Beard is
By the way, it's 11:15.
yeah. This was brewed in November of 2015.
Oh, it still has a fizz.
All right.
That's good. Oh,
Oh, you got to
ready?
finish that.
Oh, I can finish that.
Yeah, you got it. I'm so excited. This is back when my beard was brown.
Oh, I love it. This in here.
And right now I've got definitely a lot of grays in here, but I want to say I'm wiser, but I think I'm just older.
Oof. This one's gonna hurt.
It smells so good.
We got a little bit left too, if you want.
Okay.
So yeah, this one, even lighter than the Scotch ale.
Mhm.
No, there's no head retention. I mean, this thing's 6 years old, so
Yeah.
I'm surprised it hasn't turned into like a tobacco mess.
So we might, I mean, this just might be nasty.
No, it could, but I've tried this before. Oh,
Oh, Kim asked what percentage?
10 and a half.
10 and a half. All
Yeah,
right.
this one's 10 and a half. Ooh.
I'm game with this.
Yeah, this one's pretty tasty. It took
This-
a long time to come
This
around.
has so much flavor to it, but not any carbonation whatsoever.
No,
There's
it's,
like
all the remember I told you, like when you bottle it, for me at least, it either goes one of two ways. It either comes out like this foamy mess that you basically have to throw away,
yeah,
or just not carved anymore.
yeah.
And also, I think when we did Wit's Beard, I didn't have all the forced carbonation tools that I have now.
No, we used well, I don't know about the carbonation, but I know that when we brewed it, we were in your backyard.
Yep.
And you had this cascading,
Yeah.
this cascading process where it was like you put everything up top,
Mhm.
and we weren't even. This was pre, like pots.
Yeah.
We had like
I just had
there was
so
like
a lot of times when people do the all grain brewing, the first step is actually an igloo cooler.
yes,
So they get a 10-gallon igloo cooler and they put this thing called a false bottom, which is like a domed mesh,
yeah,
and it's got a spigot on one side that goes to the
and then it
spout
like went to
on
the
way
next
out.
one.
And then what so basically what we did is we filled that up with hot water, put that on the top tier. Is it called a 3-tier system? So you put that on the top tier. You have another igloo cooler in the middle, which is that grain. So that's with the grain and the hot water where
Yeah.
you're making your wort. And then that flows into the brew kettle where you're actually going to do all your boiling. Right. So as hot water flowing down using gravity, because gravity's free. Right. So the hot water flows from the hot water tank or hot
Yeah.
liquor. They call it a hot liquor tank, even though it's just water. Don't know why. And that flows down into the mash tun where your grain and hot water is. And then, so what you do is as you're collecting the wort, you want to put in fresh hot water in the top. Because what that does, it kind of washes the grain. Right. It's
Well,
called
we were
sparging.
there. You had timers going off all the
yeah.
time. You're like, all right, I got to put water in here. Timer
Yep.
went off. All right, I got to do this.
Yep.
Timer went off. I got to change this. I was
Yep.
like, what the shit is
Yeah,
going on?
well,
dude?
I mean, that's experience too,
Yeah.
right? It's just so normally, again, most of it is temperature and time, right? So when you've mixed the hot water and the grain, you want to wait a certain amount of time because you need to let
Mhm.
those enzymes convert, right?
Yeah.
Normally it's 60 minutes. I do like depends on some are longer, some are shorter, depending on what you're trying to get. But the average is 60 minutes. So you
Okay.
mix you make the oatmeal and you let it sit for 60 minutes. And I check it every 20 minutes for temperature just to make sure it hasn't dropped or
Yeah.
add some more boiling water to it to bring it up or some cold water if you got to bring it down. Right, just to get
This
to the
is
right
a fucking
temperature.
science, bro.
It
Like,
is.
this is
It is. It's called Zymergy. Zymergy is the science of fermentation. Right. I mean, it's
wow.
it's a brewing science, right? It's really not much different. The brewing process isn't much different than cooking,
Mhm.
right? If you're cooking like stocks or anything like that, it's very similar. I mean, it's time, temperature, all those things, are the same. It's the saying goes that brewers make wort and yeast makes beer, right? So your whole goal is to make sure that your process is clean enough that your final product is a really nice, happy environment for your yeast.
Mhm.
Right. So then when you add the yeast, then the yeast can do what it does and take those sugars and turn them into alcohol for you. Right.
So you want to prepare the best environment for the yeast
Yes.
to do its job.
Oh yeah. And that's a whole other thing. If you get into the yeast part of it. Right. So there's
Hey.
okay.
Hey,
1480,
take it easy, bro.
let's throw some history in here. 1487. I can't remember the convention, but basically the German beer government
Mhm.
passed a law called the Reinheitsgebot. So the Reinheitsgebot is the German beer purity laws. And they said that beer could only be made of 3 ingredients, which was malt, hops, and water. Okay. They amended it later to add wheat and yeast.
Mhm.
Right. But basically it means you can only make your beer out of grain, hops, water, and yeast. Because what was happening is people were throwing all sorts of weird stuff in their beer and people were dying.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, they were throwing, all sorts of, whatever they could find to make it a taste, drinkable. And then, Zimmy.
Hold on.
Zimmy's my
We
cat.
got Amy chimes in here and she says, Zimmy.
So my cat.
And then Kim right underneath. What is Zimmy?
my cat is named Zimmergy or
Mhm.
Zymergy. So, but I call him Zimmy.
Zimmy.
Right. He's orange, so he's beer flavored or he's beer colored.
He's beer flavored.
Beer flavored. I've never tasted my cat.
I'm like, you're cut off, bro.
Why'd you make me say
Oh
that?
man, Jerry. I got my buddy Jerry on here.
Hey.
He says, Mi corazón está en fuego,
Uh,
which is, we all
me
know
too.
this, is Spanish for I
My
love
pants are
wit
very tight.
so much. And my pants are very tight.
That's what I heard.
That's what, yeah, no. Love you, buddy. Man, thanks for being here. I miss you, bro. Jerry is he pretty much runs Zendejas in San Dimas.
Oh, hey.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Man, miss you, buddy. Hope you're doing well, bro.
Hey, Jim Walker.
James Walker.
We went to high school together.
Really?
Yeah.
Jim Walker.
Jimmy.
Brew me some beer and send it over to Texas, bro. Nice. Only if you send us, let's see, what's a good thing that that they
It's
brew
delightful.
in Texas.
Brew?
Yeah, I don't know. Don't
Chili. I don't know.
chili?
Make chili in Texas.
Send us some chili. We'll figure that out. We'll figure out the logistics later.
Nice. So yeast. So in the beginning,
Okay, hold the
Okay,
phone,
we're-
dude.
we're
If you're
getting
gonna
deep.
go
We're
down
getting
this
deep.
rabbit
We're
hole,
getting deep.
we don't have time for that rabbit hole.
wait.
I'll tell you what, dude.
What do we got?
All I'm saying is, if we're like, I'm cool with going down this.
I'll keep it brief.
I love you, bro.
So the cool thing with yeast.
All right.
So when you first start off with home brewing, yeast normally comes in a little dry packet.
Mhm.
What you do is you take a little dry packet, and you cut it open, you pour it into your beer. Right?
Oh.
Just like adding bread yeast to dough. Right?
Okay.
Very similar. Later on, what you do is you can still do that. And most actually the dry yeast has gotten to a point where I still use it if I'm just looking for kind of a neutral yeast flavor.
Mhm.
If I don't want the yeast to add any flavors. If I want the yeast to add flavors, I do a different thing. It's called creating a yeast starter. So what you do is you actually make like a really weak beer with no hops in a flask, and you add the yeast to it a couple days before you actually brew, and you get a lot of oxygen into it, and you get the yeast going and get it really active and ready to attack that beer, right? Or ready to attack the wort. So what you do is you get this yeast starter going, get it whipped up so that there's a process where the yeast basically starts making more yeast, right?
Okay.
It starts it has a reproduction phase. So you want to start from a little bit of your liquid. You get this vial of liquid yeast, add it to the yeast starter, and get it
Mhm.
going and ready to attack the beer. So when you put it in your fermenter and you add it in, it comes off real strong. It's already healthy,
Mhm.
real vigorous, ready to go. Right. So
Okay.
kind of the cool process with what I found is like the progression of home brewing, at least for me, was started with extract brewing, started with making other people's recipes. Then you start making IPAs because hops are fun to play with, right?
Okay.
Different hops are really easy, right? Just go find different varieties, different amounts, different times, different things to start playing with the different yeast. Then you go to the all graining, right? Because then with the all graining, now you can control the extract part that you didn't have the control of before, right? Once you get all that going, now you're like, well, my beer isn't coming out how I want at the end. It's too weak, or it's too strong, or something's wrong.
Robots. Drink. Drink. That's awesome. We're back. No, not yet. Hold on, let me try this. Officer Jed. Seems like, sometimes come over here. That's fine. That's the thing, is that this is fine. Yeah, I don't know. So
We'll figure it out.
Should be all right.
What you got to do, one of these days we'll have Knutson come over and take a look at the system.
Well, it's actually pretty good. Because I keep tearing down, and I think
Oh,
that's
'cause you tear
that's
down,
one
put
of
it
the
back up,
problems
tear
is
down, put it
that
back up.
like because I keep my system in my bedroom and then I bring it back out here and then I bring it back out there and then I put it back over here.
Yeah.
So like I keep changing. Plus, the podcasting system is very different from when I record. So like when I have Logic and I record music,
Yep.
there's different bit rates and sample rates and stuff like that. And so
My
are we
mom-
back yet?
My mom just sent us the middle finger.
That's freaking awesome. I'm putting that up. I'm pinning that. I'm gonna leave that on there like the whole time. That's your mom. That's Darla. Darla Knight. I love you. Oh my
goodness.
God, this is amazing.
Oh.
All right, I'm gonna leave that up for the rest of the podcast, especially because it's right underneath you.
Oh yeah. Cheers, Mom. Thank you.
That's so
I
great.
see I'm never good enough for you. I
Oh, this is amazing.
this beer came out really good. By the
Yeah,
way.
man,
Long
I'm
time
telling
to
you.
come around.
This is so good.
Yeah, Rodney put up 4.
Yeah, no, I love it. Everybody put it all up, but I love it that Mom put it up. I might go to a couple other comments,
I think she
but
was
I'm
looking,
coming back to Mom's
I think
comments.
she was looking for a different emoji. She was.
I
looking
don't
for
think
the-
so.
No, it was like
I
a
don't
kissy
think so.
face- Kissy face
If
emoji, I
anybody
think.
knew you, that's the one that they're gonna put up.
That's probably true. It is probably true. Yeah, I mean, I can talk homebrewing all night. It's something that like the rabbit hole. You listen to podcasts, you go down. I mean,
Yeah, for sure.
it's I don't even know what else to say because there's so much to say.
Well, here's
right?
the thing too, is that, so, I mean, you gave us a wealth of knowledge right now. And literally, I'm not even joking, dude. A lot of it went over my head, but I'm doing my best to like get the I'm trying to grab whatever I can.
One of these days, what I'll do is write everything down, and we can actually have a structured conversation about it instead of this random.
No, but I think the
7
random
beer in.
The random stuff is great, and I think everybody here wants to hear the random stuff that we're talking about, because that's the fun thing, is the interaction, the fact that we get to get robot-y here and there, and we get to have a conversation and talk about where you started, how you went through it, what you've done, what you fucked up with, and then how you move forward on it.
Some of the mistakes I see early home brewers do is where they come out of the gate a little bit too strong. They try. I had somebody make a coffee IPA.
Oh Jesus!
Like I'm like, ooh, and
nice.
I tried it and it was okay, but it's one of these like so aggressive. Like start with something simple, just to get the process, get the understanding, start building some knowledge.
Well, I mean, if anybody has listened to any part of this podcast, we already know that you know what the shit you're talking about. So, I mean, I actually learned a lot. I mean, and I was hanging out with you beforehand, and you taught me a lot beforehand, but I learned a lot tonight just from what you explained.
But again, my journey is a little bit more on the safe path, right? Like with college for me, like where it's like, I have a direction and I do incremental steps to get there. Some people can jump in with both feet and make some amazing stuff. And I don't want to dissuade them either. I mean, that's everyone has their own
like you said at the beginning when you were talking about being a Marine, like have a plan, but nothing is ever going to go to plan. So it's okay. Like just, you have a direction that you're going, and hey, you're going to deviate. It's all good. Don't worry about it. For sure. But I mean, you gave us a lot of different ideas of how to start, like some basic plans, some mediocre plans, and then some like advanced stuff that you're doing, which, for everybody that's out there trying to, or even just somebody who's just interested in how do you do this? Yeah. I think that I got a lot of knowledge out of this.
Like I said, my journey started with drinking a beer and going, somebody made this. Like this didn't just like pop out into existence. Like some human being.
And then fast forward, 10 years, 11 years, whatever. And we're drinking your beer, bro.
Yeah, it's weird.
And it tastes pretty good. So
cheers, brother.
Skull. And you know what? I think that is a perfect place to end this podcast. So everybody who's out there, once again, your mom.
Oh, we're supposed to post that if the sound was
bad. This is boring. I love your mom so much. Oh my God.
Why aren't you in bed, old lady? Don't make me put you in a home.
This is great.
I already have reservations for your next senior home. Don't you tempt me.
Oh, you guys are awesome. So, all right, guys, with that being said, I just want to thank my guest tonight, Mr. Kevin Knight, the Taco Bell enthusiast, the bass player from Damage Inc., and the home brewer extraordinaire. I just want to thank you for taking time out of your Tuesday, coming down, hanging out with me, drinking a few beers, and talking shop.
Thank you so much for having me. 5 Foot Viking Podcast. I mean, this was incredible. I was honestly, it was funny. As long as I've known you, I was so nervous. Right? So I'm like, oh, you don't know how it's going to be. I'm like, podcast, it's weird, but hey, we had a great time.
We're just talking, bro. We're just two friends with microphones
and a bunch of people looking at
us. And a bunch of people watching us. So, but
cheers, brother, thank you so much.
Skull, brother. Skull. Well, with that being said, I just want to thank everybody who was tuning in. All 6 of you. I'm just kidding.
14 people.
Thank everybody for hanging out on the 5 Foot Viking podcast tonight. And if you're listening to this, thank you so much for listening in on Spotify and Google Podcasts and Apple Podcasts and pretty much everywhere that you can find podcasts. You can look up the 5 Foot Viking, and you can go to the 5footviking.com and look everything up. And I think this is how you end it.